Hey guys, tonight we are diving deep into the heart of Aztec civilization, immersing ourselves in the bustling entry into Tenochtitlan. Picture this: you find yourself approaching a vast, shimmering expanse of water, with a city floating majestically on its surface like some ancient metropolis dreamed up by an imaginative child. Islands of wonder greet your eyes as they stretch out toward the horizons. But don't get too comfortable. The sensory overload of the sights, sounds, and scents are enough to make your modern life seem like a boring Tuesday in comparison. You probably won't survive this without your trusty noise-canceling headphones and an extra-strength deodorant. Seriously, though, it's a tapestry of chaos and beauty all rolled into one cacophony of a city. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. As you approach the city, the first thing that hits you is the sprawling causeways stretching like giant, welcoming arms across the lake, inviting, or perhaps daring, you to enter Tenochtitlan. As you set foot on these stone pathways, the water laps gently against the edges, a quiet yet constant murmur that underscores the frenetic energy just ahead. The sunlight glints off the surface, and for a moment, you might find yourself wondering if this is a fantastical fever dream or real life. But the warmth of the sun on your skin and the solid feel of the pathway beneath your feet remind you that this adventure is anything but imaginary. The air here is a cocktail of scents that would baffle even the most seasoned sommelier. There's a rich, earthy undertone from the fertile ground used so artfully by the Aztecs, mingling with a variety of vegetal notes that speak of the island's lush gardens and markets brimming with produce. That's right, the very air is alive with the promise of bustling commerce and agricultural abundance. And then there's the smoke. No, it's not an impromptu barbecue party you're missing out on. These are the fires that burn steadily, sending thin plumes of incense spiraling upwards, paying tribute to forgotten deities. Historians still argue whether these deities are appeased or just slightly annoyed by the constant smoke. The sounds that surround you form a peculiar symphony, one entirely unique to this place and time. Footsteps pattering across stone, wooden wheels creaking under the weight of carts, the murmur of voices and lively barter, all these create a rhythm that's effortlessly chaotic. It's as if the city itself breathes and hums with a life of its own, a giant organism made up of thousands of smaller, individual lives intertwining in perfect, unpredictable harmony. And yes, if you squint just right, you can probably spot an early version of a mariachi band warming up in some corner, but alas, you won't find a Spotify playlist matching this original mix. As you press forward, you pass through an area teeming with merchants and traders. The colors are the first impact, bold dyes from exotic plants and insects used to brighten garments and goods, dazzling your eyes with every scan of the scene. Among these displays, obsidian glints darkly, a volcanic glass so sharp it could slice through even the most stubborn morning bagel, had Tenochtitlan had them, of course. Beautifully polished, these pieces were not only essential weaponry but also highly prized in barter, traded for everything from textiles to foods. And let's not forget cacao, those precious beans of the gods, exchanged like the golden currency of the chocolate lover's wildest dreams. With the city enveloping you, the very fabric of Tenochtitlan seems to vibrate with expectation. The air buzzes with nahuatl, the spine-tingling Aztec tongue rolling off conversations like a river of sound, a language as fluid and complex as the city itself. Words blend into a continuous flow, leaving you lost in a phonetic sea, grasping onto fragments of meaning much like trying to catch fish with your bare hands. Despite knowing that nahuatl's poetic cadence is central to the culture's profound oral tradition, distinguishing one phrase from the next is a challenge best left for linguists with time on their hands and professional-grade earplugs. The people, oh the people. They move with purpose, confident in their surroundings, passing one another with slight nods or smiles, all too busy with the day's errands to linger. Dressed in simple yet vibrant garments, they easily contrast against the muted tones of the stone and water. Life here seems to move at an unrelenting pace beneath the wide sky. And just when you might think you're getting a handle on things, there comes a drumbeat from somewhere deeper within the city. Its rhythm is infectious, calling all within earshot toward it with an unwavering pull. It's a constant reminder that beneath this bustling facade lies a deeply spiritual society, rich with rituals that shape every moment. This society, much like that drumbeat, is simultaneously familiar yet entirely foreign, inviting yet undeniably overwhelming. With every step, Tenochtitlan reveals itself as a city of layers, each step forward peeling back another chapter in this unfolding story. And though the city itself is singular in its grandeur and scope, it becomes increasingly clear that as magnificent as it is, survival here isn't for the faint of heart or the constitutionally faint of nose. But then again, isn't that part of the adventure? So as the city beckons you further, deeper into its heart, you steel yourself for what lies ahead. Welcome to Tenochtitlan, where the adventure is as relentless and unpredictable as a rogue deluge from Huitzilopochtli himself. And where you, visitor from another time, are about to dive headlong into an ancient world both exotic and exhilarating. As you stumble your way onto the bustling causeways of Tenochtitlan, it's hard not to feel like an ant navigating an intricate web woven by a particularly ambitious spider. These causeways are more than mere walkways, they are the veins and arteries of this grand metropolis, stretching out before you in an intricate lattice that links the city to its surrounding lands. As you walk, try not to be distracted by the overwhelming sensation that you're in a real-life maze. Disorientation seems intentional, almost by design. A bit like trying to navigate a modern-day IKEA without getting sidetracked by all those neat little storage bins. The causeways, wide enough to accommodate a bustling stream of people and goods, are marvels of engineering in themselves. They're solid structures, composed of packed earth, stone, and wood, connecting the various sections of this sprawling island city. As you venture further, you notice that these causeways are not mere footpaths. They can handle traffic of all sorts, from traders balancing bundles on their heads to the occasional noble being predictably dramatic on their elaborate litter. Historians still argue whether these nobles were genuinely overseeing commerce or simply indulging in a bit of proto-sightseeing while avoiding the throngs below. Impressively, the emphasis on functionality doesn't overshadow the aesthetics. Decorative elements such as sculptures and vibrant plants line your pathway, a vivid testament to the Aztecs' ability to blend utility with beauty. It's like the ancient equivalent of those highway sound barriers adorned with artsy murals that make awkward car silence a bit more bearable. As you pause to catch your breath, not because you're lost or anything, we won't judge, the life of the city bustles all around you. You can't ignore the steady rhythm of activity. Merchants converse animatedly, exchanging goods, children dart between the adults, their laughter ringing like chimes, and somewhere nearby, the faint sound of a ceremonial tune drifts from an unseen temple. The causeways are alive, radiating energy and serving as a microcosm of Tenochtitlan's vibrant life, all playing out like a well-oiled machine, or a reality TV show with far superior mental stimulation. One quirky aspect of these causeways, the kind that you might find stashed away in the dusty chapter of a history book, are the clever openings throughout the lane. They act as checkpoints where goods are taxed, allowing the city's economy to thrive with all those cacao beans and obsidian blades spilling through. It seems the Aztecs might have invented the tollway long before we ever laid eyes on chaotic urban traffic. Well, perhaps not completely alike. I haven't spotted any stone versions of those orange cones that perpetually flank our own roads. The wise architects of Tenochtitlan also foresaw the occasional necessity for defense. If the city came under attack, parts of the causeways could be dismantled at a moment's notice, deterring invading forces. In essence, they function as both bridges of unity and divide, multi-purpose lanes worthy of an ancient civilization that constantly had an eye on expansion and defense. An early version of the modern multi-tool, if you will, minus the corkscrew. As you continue onward, navigating these carefully planned paths, the words of scholars bob in your mind, reminding you of the ongoing debate: were these causeways solely pragmatic avenues, or did they serve a deeper, symbolic purpose, representing the interconnectedness of life, land, and spiritual realm? The Aztecs did have a knack for infusing everything with symbolism, so it might not be too far-fetched. However, no matter their ultimate intention, one thing is certain: you wouldn't want to cross them in a hypothetical game of the floor is lava. With actual lakes surrounding you, the stakes would be impressively high. With every step, you start to glean how these causeways maintain the city's seamless functionality. Aqueducts run alongside them, nifty structures that supply water throughout Tenochtitlan, proof that paradise isn't complete without essential hydration. Even if trekking these elevated paths initially feels like attempting to make sense of your washing machine's instructions in a foreign language, you swiftly recognize their vitality. Reflecting on your short, but enlightening, Drawn across the causeways, it's easy to imagine how daunting yet magnificent crossing these paths would have been, day in and day out. It's the original rat race with considerably less office politics and far more majestic views. Though, as you might realize, becoming complacent is not recommended. One false step could very well land you in water that's less than welcoming. Remember that crocodile dung sunscreen? Let's hope it works wonders here too. The causeways hold their rightful place in history, steering the ebb and flow of Tenochtitlan, urban life entwined in each cobbled step. They serve not just as thoroughfares but as lifelines and battlegrounds, a testament to the Aztecs' nuanced understanding of complexity and control. So here you are, entranced and perhaps a little overwhelmed, not only by the path beneath your feet but by the feeling that, just maybe, every great civilization is stitched together by the simplest of things. As you wander further into the heart of Tenochtitlan, your senses are drawn to a vibrant mosaic of colors and sounds that beckon from an expanse ahead. Welcome to the markets, where the lifeblood of this grand city pulses with vigor. Picture a massive bazaar, each stall a treasure trove spilling over with the rich tapestry of Aztec commerce, offering everything from luxurious cacao beans to the gleaming edges of freshly carved obsidian, though you'll have to maneuver carefully, lest you amass enough obsidian to start your own strategically questionable cutlery collection. The air crackles with the linguistic symphony of traders, two-step haggling in a melodic burst of nahuatl woven throughout the crowd's chatter, a scene where just attempting a phrase might earn you a knowing, amused grin from a seller. You're momentarily distracted by the sight of a tall bundle of quetzal feathers, their iridescent greens and blues rippling as if caressed by unseen currents. These are no mere decorations, but symbols of nobility and divinity, favored by Aztec rulers for their divine allure. Fun fact: historians still debate whether the empires left such grandiose displays of wealth strategically placed to awe visitors or as a literal feather in their emperor's cap. Either way, the effect is dazzling. As you stroll deeper into the market, you spot stalls piled high with maize in every conceivable form. Forget your supermarket's corn aisle. Here, maize reigns supreme with a variety that spans from the humble tortilla to the intriguingly spicy tamales. Enticing aromas of chili and spices tempt your nostrils with promises of flavors both familiar and foreign. It's a culinary wonderland that challenges your taste buds, daring you to sample everything and perhaps reconsider the polite inclination to let someone else take the first bite of the spicy cricket salsa. Among the edible treasures, you'll find quaxacali, ceremonial bowls used not for guacamole as one might hope, but to hold offerings for the gods. Lest things start sounding too idyllic, let's not forget the infamous Ahuitzotl, the great speaker's war dog. Legend has it this marketplace once served as the backdrop for his antics, tales of which still amuse storytellers. One might say it's the worst-case scenario of bringing your pet to the farmer's market. Now, amidst this bustling hive of mercantile activity, you can't help but notice some peculiar items. There's a display of colorful dyes, which some enthusiastic artisan insists can make even the dullest garment a canvas, but do aim cautiously on wash day, as these brilliant hues are concocted from squished bugs. A few stalls down, obsidian mirrors reflect the gleam of sunlight. These are not only cherished for their hypnotic beauty but rumored to serve as mystical portals for priests seeking divine guidance in their reflective depths. And if you're feeling particularly ambitious, you might try convincing a suspicious vendor that obsidian's mystical properties make it the perfect addition to your bedroom feng shui, though your modern charm may yet falter against ancient skepticism. As you meander through the myriad of goods, the voice of a vendor cuts through the clamor. He is engaged in persuading passers-by of the effectiveness of his brilliantly woven cotton textiles, an item that stands out in a culture famously suing the loincloth, yet also obsessed with elaborate cloaks for those who've ascended the social ladder. Whether this is the ancient equivalent of branded luxury or just practical fashion innovation for comfort in ceremonial attire, historians continue to quibble. Not far from this spectacle, glistening heaps of rubber rest idly, evoking wonder not just for their plentiful display but for their dual role in trade and competition. The infamous ball game, one might recall, whose stakes could determine life and death, turning this stretchy commodity into both a playful and precarious venture. Wandering further through the stalls, a peculiar item catches your eye, an enigmatic perch of carved jaguar figures that seem almost to purr with significance. These creatures, after all, are not only predators but powerful symbols woven deeply into Aztec lore, embodying both the warrior's spirit and the silent stalking of fate that weaves through every corner of their existence. It's as if, amid the everyday bustle of trading frenzies and haggling triumphs, the marketplace whispers tales of gods and men, reminding you that the commerce you witness is about far more than goods alone. And as you move further into the bustle, closer to the edge of market, a small group of children tumbles past, engrossed in a game with Hani cards, an early precursor to what might amuse teenagers later with Pokemon battles. These cards are filled with illustrations and serve not only as games of strategy but encode moral tales and legendary scenes in their deft strokes. They remind you that in Tenochtitlan, even play offers a lesson in history and heritage. You may also discover small curiosities like chia seeds, used in drinks to provide strength, foresight, and what health-conscious friends might today claim as the secret to vitality. It seems that regardless of era, some health foods never quite leave the spotlight, though back then, it was more about channeling warrior strength than calorie burning. Amid all this hustling and bustling, the marketplace of Tenochtitlan is as much an exercise in vibrant immersion as it is a testament to the city's thriving pulse. Everywhere around you, the commerce thrums with life, the exchanges echo the rhythms of the city itself, and you, dear traveler, are drawn ever deeper into this hypnotic dance of trade, narrative, and possibility. And surprisingly, even the seasoned traders seem to derive some amusement from your outlandish curiosity, your presence a unique thread woven into this grand tapestry. So, with your bag now brimming with emblems of an era long past, from your prized cacao beans to a stray feather of exquisite beauty, cherished for later adornment or as whispered tales for your modern friends, it's time to plan your next step into this living museum of the ancient world. Remember, when navigating time travel, the trickiest part might just be getting back through customs. Ah, the sweet symphony of confusion and curiosity, this is what greets you as you endeavor to understand the language of the Aztec Empire, Nahuatl. Every street corner seems alive with voices, and the sounds of Nahuatl are thrown at your ears like an unending waterfall, each syllable slipping and crashing in its own rhythm. You strain to catch meaning amidst the cascade, but even basic greetings are like trying to decipher ancient text on a moving scroll. Is that a hello or an insult? Who's to say? Nahuatl, with its melodious yet perplexing chains of syllables, is as vital to the Aztecs as the fluttering wings to a butterfly, intricate and apace with the daily life around you. As you try to keep up, you notice the Aztec penchant for long, expressive words, seemingly designed to capture the essence of things in one breath. Perhaps it's their way of outdoing even your longest word, ultramicroscopic silicovolcaniconiosis. Who knew the Aztecs were linguistic show-offs? In this world, imagery flows through language like water through reeds, with names and nouns evoking vivid pictures. Zytomal for tomato, literally the navel fruit, awakamali combining avocado and mole to delight in one succinct verbal handful. And then there's Quatli for eagle, soaring yet somehow grounding, like the bird itself. You attempt to greet a passerby with a friendly quali tonali, a good day, in theory. Their response, a rapid-fire eruption of sound, makes you feel less like a newcomer and more like a tourist on the wrong bus route. You wonder if it was the good part or the day that tripped you up. Even historians squabble over the exact tones and emphasis, like music critics debating a note in a Bach concerto. In their eagerness to communicate, some Aztecs employ gestures as if performing an elaborate charade, offering brief reprieve from the auditory acrobatics. You appreciate the visual clues, a nod here, a hand gesture there, and briefly consider how emoji language might have been received in this bustling marketplace, perhaps curtailing more than just scrolling thumbs. The Aztec practice of naming things in relation to the cosmos is a quaint and deeply ingrained habit that unfurls daily life as a miniaturized epic saga. Their language is steeped in allegory, beauty, and perhaps a dash of good-natured exaggeration. Historians still argue whether their use of Nahuatl had a formalized script akin to those ancient, endless codices or was primarily verbal storytelling, breath-cradled in consonants and vowels. Cunningly, the Aztecs employed Nahuatl to solidify their rule, coaxing conquered peoples to adopt this linguistic bread and butter as part of their daily intake. The spread of this language was as much a tool of empire as their obsidian blades or tribute demands. Imagine a taco stand takeover, but with more compelling rhetoric and fewer toppings. Your attempts at conversing yield mixed results, blending stumbling mispronunciations. Your tongue trips over TL combinations like a clumsy dancer, and vowels insist on misaligning like socks fresh from the dryer. Still, laughter is universal, and friendly chuckles echo your efforts. A kind local might even lean in and teach you a matl, paper, which leads to an impromptu lesson about the bark-based material they used to chronicle everything from star charts to tax records. Because what's civilization without paperwork? The rise and fall of Nahuatl's tones continue to beguile, even as you struggle to unravel its secrets. Audio snippets of bustling marketplaces, whispers of ceremonies, and loud, happy discussions of daily fare weave through the air, painting a cultural mosaic alive with history. And while your mastery of Nahuatl remains decidedly novice, you're enveloped in its poetic embrace, a visitor stumbling upon an old friend with tales to tell. So here you are, swept into a melody centuries old, where every spoken word is a note in an epic composition. You can't help but think, if Google Translate had been invented back then, its algorithms might have needed more than a little Aztec priestly intervention to keep up. For now, you continue to navigate the articulated chaos, each phrase an invitation to explore further, deeper into the heart of Tenochtitlan, where even speech is alive with wonders. Standing before the imposing Templo Mayor, you can't help but let your jaw drop a little in the shadow of this colossal structure. Honestly, it's like being at the base of a skyscraper, but it's more pyramid-y and 100% more Aztec. This towering temple complex is a centerpiece in Tenochtitlan, both spiritually and politically. It's like their combination of City Hall, Vatican, and maybe that trendy spot everyone's talking about. The Templo Mayor stands as a testament to the conquests and culture of the Aztecs. From its heights, you can almost hear the echoes of ancient chants, the rustle of ceremonial garments, the slight clinking of jade bracelets. One has to wonder if jade ever itches, doesn't one? Anyhow, the temple, dedicated to the gods Huitzilopochtli, the god of sun and war, and Tlaloc, the god of rain and agriculture, was the beating heart of this civilization. Not to sound dramatic, but this place really is where stuff went down. Historians still argue whether the exact height of this temple is closer to the 197 feet mark or perhaps a bit taller, but let's not nitpick either way, it's lofty enough to give you an excellent view. And speaking of the divine view, the temple was central not just in the geographic sense. It was explicitly designed to mirror the cosmic order, a kind of architectural way of saying, we're the center of the universe, and you're not even close. One peculiar detail about these steps? Climbing them is akin to entering a hardcore leg day at the gym. Each step was intentionally tall, designed to make you contemplate every agonizing inch you ascended. Was it an ancient Aztec version of a mindfulness exercise, perhaps? Spend some quality time with your thoughts. Will my legs ever forgive me? Is its own flavor of meditation. At the top, if you handle the climb, imagine the priests engaged in events combining sacred ritual with more than a touch of dramatic flair. Don't go assuming too much gore. Keep in mind this is the same society that saw special significance in butterflies. Yes, the brightly winged beauties held a sacred status, fluttering around like ethereal symbols of the soul. You never know, one might alight upon your shoulder while you're visiting, reminding you that magical realism is alive and well in this world. Political power was as strongly felt here as spiritual energy, kind of like when politicians join in religious ceremonies today, but without the photo opportunities. The Aztec rulers were deeply intertwined with the priesthood, and by performing ceremonies at the Templo Mayor, they asserted their authority, supported by supernatural endorsement. It was the sort of get divine or get lost message that really demanded attention. Curiously, despite its formidable grandeur, the site saw multiple reconstructions. It expanded 7 times over its life, undergoing renovations like an ancient fixer-upper showing off the ebbs and flows of growing empire posturing. Underneath its grandiosity, archaeologists have unearthed an array of offerings, from beautifully crafted jewelry to ritual remains that speak of both opulence and devotion. Can you imagine visiting a pyramid and stumbling onto an undiscovered stash of someone's shell collection? Well, it's not exactly the same, but sea creatures were among the peculiar offerings found here, gathered from distant waters to honor the gods, a testament to trade networks and Aztec oddities. The strange is a sweet spot for the Aztecs. Remember those chinchilla pelts? There's also endless speculation about the inclusion of hearts and rituals here, which historians are still debating vigorously, hopefully not while having lunch. Regardless, like any doubt left on a crucial cliffhanger, it adds spice to the historical air hanging about. Just perhaps don't ask the friendly neighborhood tour guide for too many details. Perhaps most wondrously, the site had, and continues to have when excavated, interpretations that can change depending on your angle, much like modern art. Some see the Templo as a grand stage, where gods and people intersect, while others, like you, might just turn your imagination loose on the complexities of materials and sacred spaces, cedar, Tezontle, and mythology woven together like a blockbuster trilogy. You reflect that Tenochtitlan citizens live so dynamically in the temple's shadow, much like we do with today's big structures and events influencing city life, though thankfully, our own interactions are less about appeasing rain deities and more about daily commutes. If only this pyramid could whisper its secrets. But then again, in this quiet awe, you already feel them, telling stories as timeless as human fascination with the immense and the mysterious. Like a reverberation of the ages, inviting you briefly to touch the strands of a culture where stone ruled supreme and the divine was never far away. You find yourself wandering the lively streets of Tenochtitlan, surrounded by sights and sounds that beguile your senses and fill you with a deep sense of nostalgia for times you never truly knew. Today, you're on a mission. It's time to explore the daily life of the common folk, the homes of the hoi polloi, if you will. You venture down streets winding away from grand structures like the Templo Mayor and into the labyrinthine heart of residential life. Here, you find the vibrant pulse of the city gently beating to a rhythm as timeless as it is essential. As you meander through the narrow streets, you're greeted by homes crafted from adobe bricks, a staple in ancient architecture. Each house, modest yet charming, stands as a testament to the city's architectural finesse. Interior spaces are defined by their earth-tone simplicity and utilitarian design, a perfect blend of form and function that might remind you of a minimalist lifestyle blog, if those had existed back in the day. Despite the apparent simplicity, families take immense pride in their homes, much like shouting, "We've got the best mole recipe in all of Tenochtitlan" from the rooftops would today. The wealth of a household's family is often reflected in the home's adornments, sometimes a small stone altar of humble design, other times intricate pottery pieces whispering quiet tales of the residents' prosperity. Historians still argue whether these embellishments were art forms or status symbols, though in reality, these elements likely played both roles seamlessly. Ekchuan candles, subtly illuminating the homes with their soft glow, create an inviting sanctuary for family and friends, perfect for gathering around and exchanging not-so-gentle familial jabs about who's too slow in May's harvest scrabble. It's intriguing to note how the family unit functions here, a microcosm of harmony and cooperation. By day, fathers and sons labor in agriculture, merchant stalls, or building infrastructure. Their diligence fuels the economy and ensures societal stability in ways that make you wish your to-do list was equally impressive. Women, meanwhile, are the unsung symphonic section in life's grand orchestra. Skilled in textiles, they meticulously weave clothing that effortlessly treads the line between the practical and the stunning, leaving you marveling at the craftsmanship. Prepare yourself to redefine the term work-from-home efficiency as you witness their multitasking prowess in managing day-to-day affairs, ensuring the finery of communal tapestry remains tightly woven. Children are not spared labor's embrace, but they are generally raised within affectionate boundaries. Boys are taught farming and trade skills. Think of it as early career planning minus the tears of student loans. Girls learn the arts of homemaking under gentle guidance, with weaving parties offering a social camaraderie more fulfilling than any sleepover pillow fight could hope to achieve. Step inside, and you'll see that domestic activities carve out the rhythm of the family life. The comforting scent of maize dough, painstakingly prepared by nimble hands, dances through the air to the tempo of what we'd call a Taco Tuesday buzz. Corn is integral here, a historical fact that doesn't beg for debate. Whether in stews, tamales, or tortillas, it's the unifying thread of Aztec sustenance, weaving through all corners of daily existence like your grandma's ravioli lives through family reunions. Amid these bustling routines, even the simplest of objects have subtle stories to share. Calcayotlicu water jars, essential at smoothing the jagged edges of homemade tortillas with water's help, elevate your appreciation for how households innovate even the smallest of tasks. Would you fancy that, without knowing it, you've been glimpsing the lives of natural-born efficiency experts each time you've delegated work wisely at your own fiesta, possibly with less success, but that's beside the point. In this mix of vibrant daily life and earnest duty, you're struck by the heart of family commitment. Tenochtitlan's residents treasure their kin and community ties like their forebears treasure the cacao bean, a currency that ran fuller than any coin pouch ever could. The sense of collaboration here is everything but contemporary buzzword team spirit. As roles intertwine and family members support one another, a strong community tapestry emerges, and you realize that to last a day in Tenochtitlan means fully embracing this rich, intertwined home life. And finally, as you pull yourself away from the warm cacophony of Aztec family life, you're reminded that time, much like your grandma when she tries to push leftovers on you, is relentless. The day must move on, but not before you carry with you a sense of connection that echoes through every historic whisper, reminding you of the invisible web spun around you by lives long past. With a soft chuckle, you reflect on the fact that while historians continue to explore what made life truly vivid here, experiencing the palpable love of family firsthand answers that question quite handily. As you meander deeper into Tenochtitlan, you realize it's time to embrace the local cuisine. Brace yourself. The indigenous Aztec diet is a riot of flavors, textures, and a touch of culinary audacity. Your nose twitches as the earthy scent of roasting maize fills the air, the omnipresent staple for virtually every meal. Cardinals of cornfields, the Aztecs have mastered agriculture like no other. They have crafted an entire culinary playing field based on the humble maize, grinding it into masa, which becomes the vessel for tamales and tortillas alike. Your stomach growls as you see steaming tamale vendors setting up shop, the aroma of treated corn dough mingling with a variety of fillings that would make even a modern gastronomist raise an appreciative eyebrow. Stuffed with everything from savory beans to exotic meats, each tamale is neatly wrapped in corn husks, a biodegradable packaging that's more sustainable than any plastic wrap. Turns out, the ancients were eco-friendly without even trying. But, hold your horses, or rather, hold your jaguars, as the sight of pillai, chili peppers, sets all assumptions of spice tolerance on fire. Yes, the Aztecs were the OG heat lovers long before the Scoville scale was a twinkle in Wilbur Scoville's eye. You might think you have a decent spice threshold, but this is the realm of ancient warriors. Eating such a pepper could make your eyes water, your nose run, and your ancestors proud all at once. They say mouths igniting with fire are a rite of passage here, an accidental ritual to see who can last longest without diving headfirst into the nearest maize beverage. As you survey the market stalls, you notice something that's both shocking and intriguing to the untrained: fried insects. Crickets, to be precise, are a beloved delicacy here, packing a hearty crunch and a surprising nutty flavor. Yes, move over kale chips, as crickets claim their rightful place in the nutrient aisle. Rich in protein and low in carbs, these pint-sized dinners could put any superfood to shame. Lest you conjure scenes from old Fear Factor reruns, historians assure us that eating insects wasn't a peculiar fad but a sensible nutritional choice given the city's resources. Mother Nature's own protein bar, if you will. You gather your courage to pick up a chapulin and give it a tentative nibble, while casting a cautious glance around, hoping this doesn't turn into a live episode of Survivor. Historians still argue whether the Aztecs enjoyed crickets for their taste or merely put up with them due to nutritional necessity. However, it's the earthy savor of these crunching critters that might win you over, or at least make for a good conversation starter in future Aztec-themed parties. To wash down all this gastronomic adventure, you turn towards a vessel of frothy, dark liquid that would make the heart of a modern hipster barista skip a beat: Zacatl, the ancient equivalent of hot chocolate. Only here, you're not drinking a sugar-laden, milk-infused confection but a bitter concoction of cacao spiced with chili and sweetened with honey or maize. Don't be surprised if the bitterness overwhelms you. After all, Zacatl was never meant to be dessert but rather a revered beverage of the gods and elite. The caffeine kick alone could rouse you to take on the fiercest of jaguar warriors. And speaking of warriors, the Aztec penchant for protein wasn't limited to the odd insect. Here, wild game abounds: turkey, rabbit, and even the odd iguana. Imagine stepping into a landscape where your proteins are as varied as a modern-day farmer's market, with culinary options that make your taste buds dance with curiosity. Interestingly, the Aztecs hardly knew the concept of beef, and it's whispered that the empire thrived without it, another argument historians toss around like a hot tamale. Navigate past the familiar and unconventional, and you find yourself at the heart of the sumptuous Aztec banquet. At feasts, extravagant spreads mirror the vibrancy and complexity of the society itself. Host guests with offerings from assorted fruits to invigorating stews that simmer for hours in large clay pots. Here's where chili, cacao, tomato, and avocado rule the roost, their flavors combining to create an alchemy that transcends the mere act of eating. Amongst this smorgasbord, tequini, a spicy rabbit stew, holds a special place. Think of it as Tenochtitlan's answer to the rabbit hole of adventurous eating, a sensory feast steeped in rich, aromatic broth that could almost make you believe in magic. According to some lore, the stew was second only to the king's banquet table, where the fare was as expansive and indulgent as the Aztec imagination itself. Your explorations draw you to the varied layers of this vibrant cuisine, one that mixes the enchanting, the unexpected, and, at times, the slightly unnerving components. Yet, it's an unbeatable adventure that challenges your palate to traverse through unfamiliar terrain, much like navigating those intricate causeways that thread through Tenochtitlan. Remember, even today, these flavors linger subtly in the Mexican culinary tradition, with contemporary eats like tacos and enchiladas harking back to their historical roots. So, are you full yet? As you digest this veritable buffet of ancient world delights, perhaps the real challenge is not overcoming the flavors, but coming to grips with the audacious inventiveness of a society that turned nature's pantry into an extraordinary culinary canvas long before the culinary festivals of the modern world. And as the day wanes, you start to see the logic and finesse in this Aztec diet, a culture that truly believed that diversity is the spice of life. The chef's hat extended not to haute cuisine but to an everyday appreciation of flavors that were as steadfast and formidable as the stone temples looming on the horizon. Ah, brave soul, equipped with nothing but your modern sensibilities and perhaps a travel-sized bottle of hand sanitizer, you dare venture into the world of Aztec hygiene, the one so radically different from your comforting world of indoor plumbing and lavender-scented bath bombs. It's time to immerse yourself, perhaps not by choice, into the world of Tenochtitlan's cleanliness and rituals. Imagine this: you're surrounded by the aroma of sweat mingled with the natural fragrances of herbal shampoo substitutes vigorously scrubbed infrequently through the hair of the city's denizens. Yes, shampoo alternatives. You see, the Aztecs were rather ingenious in their use of soapwort, a lovely little plant that provided suds long before the convenience of supermarket aisles. As you stand timidly near a bustling bathhouse, it's hard to miss, resembling a communal get-together more than your usual private spa retreat. You notice the lively chatter and laughter echoing off the stone walls, resonating with a communal sense of cleanliness that reeks more of camaraderie than cucumber melon body wash. Do you spot that raised brow amongst the network of Aztec bathers? That's aimed at you, the hesitantly enthusiastic interloper. Your reluctance is understandable since, unlike today's blueberries and lavender soaks, the Aztec bath was somewhat more blunt in its approach, often necessitating the use of abrasive scrubs made from volcanic pumice stones. Think of it as nature's own exfoliant, which, while benefiting the skin, may leave you longing for a gentler loofah. Startlingly enough, some historians still argue whether these communal bathing practices, adopted with such zeal, were primarily for hygiene or simply social gatherings. Either way, as you dip a toe into this ancient custom, it's clear the Aztecs were no strangers to cleanliness. Did you know, for instance, that the city boasted more public baths than a Roman emperor's palace? You might even be coerced into trying a temazcal, an intriguing steam bath that might have you drawing parallels to a modern-day sauna, albeit with a more spiritual claim to fame. These steam baths, constructed to purify the soul, perhaps offer not just relaxation but a brief existential crisis, a transformative commendation of Aztec purification that would put most life coaches to shame. But, don't let the decent bathhouse distract you from the more quaint peculiarities of Aztec hygiene. Those vivid colors staining the teeth of the talkative elder over there? Thank the red dye from insects used in their mouth-cleansing concoctions. Not quite toothpaste, but beggars can't be choosers when Pepsodent isn't an option. Swishing this vivid liquid through the mouth provides not just entertainment for onlookers in the form of a rather garish smile but also a lesson in resourceful hygiene. As you wade deeper into the labyrinth of Aztec cleanliness, you might catch a whispered tale of the grand ruler Moctezuma who bathed twice daily, setting what some might call an impossible standard, unless you're a dedicated morning and night brusher and flosser, of course. Moctezuma's pristine routine, though, leaves one to ponder whether this was a monarch's personal quest for cleanliness or an extravagant assertion of status. Historians still debate the true motivation behind his frequent dips in his personal bath. Wander a little further, and you might encounter the Aztecs' peculiar use of flowers as natural deodorants. This decision, though delightfully fragrant, might also have been an innovative response to ward off less pleasant odors, a necessity in a world without aerosol sprays. Imagine, if you will, a floral bouquet as your choice of combat against the natural musk of a populous city. In an oddly relatable twist, some Aztec hygiene horrors come equipped with cringeworthy parallels to your modern-day beauty routines. Animal fat, for instance, was often used in concoctions for skincare purposes. Think of it as the reigning moisturizer of the time, long before coconut oil took over the world. Here, pragmatic resourcefulness trumps luxury, though anointment and rendered fat brings to mind barbecue adventures rather than beauty clinics. And let's not dismiss the elephant, or should I say, the lizard, in the room, the use of volcanic ash as a talc-like substance to keep the body fresh. Although it might read like an exaggerated myth concocted by a creative writer, the Aztecs did indeed dabble in unusual beauty practices. Such a practice might raise a few skeptical brows today, as conversations drift toward topics of exfoliation and potential skin benefits, or lack thereof. Despite your best intentions, as the realities of Aztec hygiene unfold, some might whisper that their approach is rooted as much in mythology as it is in practicality, tradition and necessity weaving together into an unforgettable daily ritual. You have to give it to them, whether for spiritual cleansing, tactile needs, or mere convenience in a city teeming with life, Tenochtitlan surely never bored with its dedication to such rituals. As the overwhelming sense, routines, and practices of United Nations of hygiene nudge you back toward the comfort of your almond-scented lotion and plush towels, minus the lizard skin effect, hopefully, you can't help but nod in respect. Witnessing potential revolutions of cleanliness, even amongst the jolt of horrors, has offered a chance to understand a world where innovation sprouted not from convenience, but an earnest need to adapt and thrive. Perhaps this experience has given you a new lens with which to view that evening bath in a dim room under a starry sky, a personal sanctuary tucked into the rhythm of everyday life, then and now. You wander through the vibrant streets of Tenochtitlan, where spirituality dances fervently in the air like an omnipresent haze. At every turn, the god's presence is palpable, creeping into your mind as you walk, reminding you that religion is not just a sidebar here, it's the main event. So, hold onto your hat, or your feathered headdress, rather, because you're about to dive headfirst into the deep end of Aztec zeal. As you move along the stone pathways, you notice that nearly every activity is tethered to the divine. From the market vendors quietly whispering thanks to their patron gods with every sale they make, to the farmers who tilt their heads skyward, offering a hopeful nod for rain or any form of weather that doesn't ruin their day on the Chinampas. There's a divine ritual for everything, almost as though the Aztec gods came with their own user manual that people have wholly subscribed to. Remember the Templo Mayor, a central testament to the Aztecs' architectural and spiritual prowess, where the shadows echo with whispered prayers and the faint memory of drums. But it's not all grandeur. Daily life revolves around personal altars and offerings, reminding us that sometimes potpourri and scented candles just don't make the divine cut. These altars are cluttered with items specific to whichever god might be peeking over the spiritual fence that day, offerings which historians still argue could range from tame to, well, let's just say, eclectic. Quite a day for a visit, isn't it? You might stumble upon a festival if you're lucky, or unlucky, depending on your view of enthusiastic chanting. Aztec festivities are comprehensive affairs, complete with music, dances, and occasional, let's say, interpretative theater involving locals and priests. It's like a never-ending block party where the neighbors are gods that can either make your crops flourish or your life exceptionally difficult if you accidentally snub them. Fun times, huh? Speaking of priests, don't get too carried away by the rhythmic drumming, because their rituals can range from the beautiful to the downright "did they really just do what I think they did?" Remember, we're being PG-13 here, but suffice it to say, not all ceremonies would pass your average family-friendly viewing test. And let's not overlook the peculiar mythologies. Have you ever heard of Tlaloc and his penchant for, well, water-themed activities? Thanks to him, hydration was about more than just hitting your 8 glasses a day. When it rained, it poured obligations. In this buzzing religious hive, every gesture might carry cosmic weight. Kneeling, standing, even blinking at the right moment could bring about blessings or set off divine mischief. Because who wouldn't want their every blink turning into a prayer marinated in significant metaphysical nuance? Your daily commute? A veritable journey towards enlightenment, assuming you dodge those causeway traffic jams. Diving into the scholarly pool, we find debates over just how widespread this reverence was among the hoi polloi. Did they follow religious customs out of genuine devotion, or was it more about dogma meeting societal expectation with an obedient nod? Some intellectuals argue that for most, these rituals were as ingrained and unremarkable as wearing socks before shoes, complete with the same level of divine implications if done wrong. And let's get back to those sacrifices, shall we? Don't worry, I won't dive into the gory bits. But there's something intriguingly regimented about them, with each part designed to appease an endless pantheon. From offerings that kind of resemble alternative names for your Starbucks orders, Jaguar Prowling Moon Latte, anyone, to rituals that require more prepping than a modern wedding. Life was not without its pressure. Appeasing Malinali, the goddess of grass, was serious business when planning a picnic. Exploring further, you can't help but admire, or is it puzzle over, how they synchronized every part of life with the celestial dance of gods and celestial predictability. But hey, when your society's existence is built on inevitably quippy star alignments and signs, it's only efficient to multitask by praying while you till. Doubt if it worked? Let's just say, faith was less about reassurance and more about cosmic customer service, where the lady on the end of the line decides if you deserve a bountiful harvest or a seasonal backlog. No pressure. For those keeping tally at home, this perpetual devotion wasn't just a weekend event or an Instagrammable moment. It was life as integrated into the Aztecs' routine as that beloved crocodile dung sunscreen was in your skincare drama. Yet, amidst the intensity, it's kind of stress-relieving, if you think about it. After all, letting go and letting the gods fiddle with your fate leaves a lot less room for worrying about, say, where you left your obsidian knife. Festivals, dances, sacrificial rites, wrapped in one divinely executed package. Yet, what's most striking is the flexibility it offered in explaining the unexplainable. Whatever nature threw your way, floods, droughts, inexplicable desires for cocoa beans, it was all a divine scientist's way of tweaking the controls. So, don't forget, every time you drop that stone tool in frustration, it's not clumsiness, it's probably a divine sign suggesting you take up weaving instead. Wandering deeper, you might catch sight of local artisans crafting vibrant representations of their gods, clay, feathers, and fibers forming figures as iconic as any deity today. Visual reminders that help one feel slightly better when signing up for another round of celestial appeasement. These aren't your average garden gnomes either. Think bigger, grander, and most certainly more sacred. In the end, it's the crescendo of spirituality that defines this era. Like a tightrope walk between the ethereal and earthly, where every step resonates with ritualistic purpose. As you stroll on, realize that this dance with the divine was never a mere option, it was an inescapable tapestry woven into the essence of Aztec life, its threads vibrant, demanding, and, for better or worse, ever present. Now, isn't that as soothing as a prelude to an evening's sleep under a blanket of stars shining over Tenochtitlan? Walking through the streets of Tenochtitlan, you'll notice that this city isn't just organized chaos, it's a finely tuned mechanism kept running smoothly by the force of its laws. All around you, people go about their business with surprising order, as if directed by an unseen conductor. You might say it's the Aztec version of rush hour, except with fewer honking cars and more feathered headgear. The Aztec legal system was as fascinating as it was fierce. Imagine a society where wearing the wrong clothes could land you in hot water, or maybe at the bottom of it. Yes, the Aztecs had laws governing attire, including restrictions on what commoners could wear versus nobles. Historians still argue whether these rules helped maintain social order or were just a handy way for tailors to charge extra for special threads. This system wasn't a casual affair either. Judges, clad in elaborate costumes that made modern judge robes look like pajamas, would listen to cases in the open-air courts. The people believed these judges were the representatives of the gods' will. Their decisions, like divine decrees, had life-altering consequences. The punishments? Let's just say the Aztec legal drama had enough plot twists to rival any season of your favorite Netflix series, though this one comes with a side of ritual sacrifice, a detail they conveniently leave out of tourist brochures. One of the quirky aspects of the Aztec legal system was its reliance on witnesses and personal testimony. It's fascinating to think that in a world without CCTV, DNA testing, or Facebook to corroborate who liked your latest pottery creation, they relied heavily on the words of others. Testimonies could lead to punishments as severe as death or as laughable as making the guilty sweep the roads, a task that missed the mark on cognitive behavioral therapy but guaranteed clean streets. Oh, but don't be fooled, there were certain rights and responsibilities the Aztecs took very seriously. Unlike today, where we might occasionally slip $1 or $2 to the meter maid, the bribe, a gesture now as common as morning coffee, was a capital offense back then. being caught could cost you more than political embarrassment. Your life was quite literally on the line. So, really, modern politicians should count themselves lucky that integrity audits have generally evolved beyond life or death stakes. Remember, even crime and punishment were not simple here. A thief could face harsh repercussions, but if the stolen goods were returned, with a polite apology thrown in for good measure, all was forgiven. This conciliatory gesture sounds almost quaint, but also a little reminiscent of when your sibling borrows your favorite hoodie without asking. Then as now, sometimes it's the thought that counts. Meanwhile, the system extended its reach to domestic life. Everything from marital conflicts to property disputes fell under its gavel. Family was seen as a microcosm of the larger society, and thus, naturally, even minor spats could warrant legal intervention. Lost some corn to the neighbor's wandering turkey? Call in the Quetzalfeather-robed judge. Scholars continue to debate the perceived fairness of this ancient system. Was it equitable, or did it heavily favor those in power? Evidence suggests a little bit of both, with the scales of justice often tipped by who you know as much as what you did. A delightful little conundrum that hasn't entirely disappeared with the centuries, wouldn't you agree? As you watch this society of intricate rules and dynamic order, you realize that beneath its seemingly chaotic surface, there lies a system both complex and deeply intuitive. The rhythm of law and order in Tenochtitlan was a dance between the mundane and the divine, caught in an eternal pirouette that kept the city thriving and alive. And just think how different our own legal world might be if today's courtrooms swapped their somber black robes for colorful feathers and gold embellishments. Though to be fair, traffic court might be a bit of a fashion runway. In the meantime, as you stroll past statute-abiding citizens who seem to instinctively know when and how to play their part, you start to understand why this society lasted as long as it did. Just like you can't underestimate the power of a good bylaws committee on a PTA board, you now see the value of a structured legal system in an ancient society. So next time you're contemplating bending the rules, whether it's speeding through a yellow light or fibbing on a tax return, remember the Aztecs. You might escape with a fine today, but in old Tenochtitlan, whispering sweet nothings to a municipal clerk could quite literally have cost you an arm and a leg. As you continue your journey through this ancient metropolis, let the echoes of their laws filter through the sounds of trade, worship, and daily life around you. Despite how distant they might seem, these foundational principles were the threads that held the vibrant tapestry of Tenochtitlan together, ensuring that the city danced to its own intricate, lawful rhythm. As you wander the bustling streets of Tenochtitlan, you're quickly immersed in the intricate weave of roles and identities that define the citizens of this booming metropolis. Gender here is not a static portrait but a dynamic tapestry of responsibilities and expectations. Women wrap themselves in garments that tell stories and signal societal standing. Not just in colorful huples and skirts, but they are also woven into the delicate threads of domestic weaving, producing the fabric of everyday life. These women are the artisans behind the textiles that even modern fashionistas might envy. Imagine haute couture on a backstrap loom. Men, on the other hand, take on the mantle of warriors with the same vigor they apply to being farmers and traders. The shift from cultivating chinampas to wielding obsidian-studded weaponry reflects a life of dual duties: nurture by day, defend by night, much like being both a day trader and a night shift security guard in a skyscraper. You can almost hear the eerie echo of battle cries under the sun's relentless gaze, and yes, that's definitely sweat trickling down your spine. Still, life isn't just a predictable script. Historians still argue whether Aztec society allowed more fluidity than traditionally believed. Nurturers and providers, women often step beyond household confines to engage in trade or religious ceremonies. In fact, some women hold esteemed roles as priestesses, acting as vital channels between the spiritual and the mundane. These women possess a kind of spiritual gravitas, as if every day were a modern-day TED Talk on divine intervention. The expectations strap a burden comparable to wearing stilettos on cobblestones, challenging your preconceptions at every turn, and you can't help but notice the subtleties lost on first glance. Men, it turns out, might be expected to weave too, particularly if they aim to impress potential in-laws. Picture a weekend weaving boot camp to ensure they're not all biceps and bravado. It's a responsibility looming large like the volcanic mountains on the horizon. Moreover, on festival days, no gender monopoly on celebratory roles exists. Both men and women participate, a synchronized celebration akin to a choreographed dance number that dazzles and disorients with its complexity. Everyone is part poet, dancer, and artist, their joy and devotion echoing through the streets, creating music that could rival today's viral TikTok choreography, well, minus the smartphones. Family structures narrate another tale of balance, where patriarchs might technically lead, yet matriarchs are the undeniable linchpins of daily life. Women negotiate markets, maintain hearths, and orchestrate the thriving existence of those in their charge. It's a vivid, real-life performance of multitasking worthy of any modern-day resume skills section. Gender, then, is less a rigid caste etched in stone and more a fluid dance of duties and abilities. Yet, don't mistake this for an egalitarian utopia. Power is sometimes as impermeable as your favorite waterproof jacket, with the ultimate decisions wrapped in hierarchical layers. Women wield influence in quieter ways, behind the tapestry rather than front and center, nudging rather than shoving the course of daily and divine matters alike. It's this intricate dance of defined roles and invisible lines that leaves you pondering your own present-day social constructs. Is our progress genuinely more liberating, or is the past far more progressive than we've given it credit for? It's a scholarly debate that historians and armchair philosophers alike have grappled with and toyed over cups of cocoa, albeit theirs was more richly spiced than the average Swiss Miss. In these gender dynamics, you don't just witness pre-Columbian life, you experience the subtle push and pull of societal currents, with roles intertwining like sinewy river paths carving through ancient landscapes. Navigating this colorful tapestry is both exhilarating and exhausting, much like trying to outguess the unpredictable dance of history itself. As you digest this collection of gender narratives, remember, here, history holds no monopoly over identity. Instead, it's a lived experience sculpted day by day, ritual by ritual, threading connections to ancestors while whispering possibilities of change. The warm sun fades to a comforting glow over Tenochtitlan, its fiery shade pausing to cast gentle shadows that turn the city gold. It's a reminder that in these shadows lies not only sawdust floors and bustling markets but also the nuance of roles that shape every inch of Aztec society. So as you wander slightly dazed back towards the calmer waters of your own time, remember, modern-day norms are no less of a complex social tapestry, woven with as much precision and contradiction as those you've just journeyed through. Do those threads seem less foreign now? Perhaps they share more with our threads of humanity than we care to admit. Here in Tenochtitlan, nothing is truly as simple or as predictable as it first appears, a lesson, perhaps, for modern eyes, heavy with the patina of time and expectation. As you amble through Tenochtitlan, you can't help but marvel at the sprawling city built upon a lake. It seems improbable, almost defying the natural order, but the Aztecs were never ones to shy away from grand endeavors. You're led to the heart of this aquatic urban expanse, where the ingenious chinampas stretch out before you like a patchwork quilt lovingly stitched together by Mother Nature herself. These floating gardens are the pride of the city, born from ingenuity and necessity alike. The chinampas are a sight to behold, a seamless union between earth and water. They appear to float effortlessly on the lake's surface. But don't be fooled by their serene appearance. Each chinampa is the result of backbreaking labor and unwavering perseverance. The Aztecs crafted these buoyant plots by layering mud, lake sediments, and decaying vegetation to create fertile beds ripe for planting. It's a technique that's as sophisticated as it is straightforward, a marvel of agricultural engineering that has still not been fully replicated in modern times. As you step closer, you catch the scent of fresh earth mingling with lush greens, a perfume only nature could concoct. Vegetables and fruits abound on these floating plots, providing sustenance for the city's burgeoning population. Maize, beans, squash, and even flowers thrive here, each plant contributing to the vibrant tapestry of foliage and utility. You might be tempted to pluck a fruit and take a bite, but remember, sustenance is sacred here. You wouldn't want to anger any local deities or farmers. The benefits of the chinampas extend beyond mere agricultural production. They act as natural filters, cleansing the lake's water of impurities, much like how you might wish a good meditation session could filter out life's worries. The ecological harmony is remarkable, showcasing a delicate balance akin to a 3-year-old finally agreeing on a bedtime story after a laborious negotiation. Historians still argue whether the chinampas originated purely from resource necessity or if they played a strategic role in defense against invaders. After all, a city on water with an intricate barrier of floating gardens was no easy venue for siege or sacking. Although, explaining to potential invaders that no, you cannot stand on these gardens might have been an awkward medieval conversation. There's a certain peace in watching the farmers tend to their chinampas, their routine a rhythmic dance of planting and harvesting, knowing every step keeps the city fed and thriving. These plots are a testament to human resilience, adapting and thriving in environments that might leave others scratching their heads and opting for a simpler, less aquatic lifestyle. Did you know, some claim that chinamperos, those who garden these plots today, inherited legends of how their ancestors communicated with earth spirits for guidance, though that's about as scientifically debated as whether chocolate is a fruit. Speaking of exotic farming methods, you might wonder, how do they keep these marvelous plots from floating away like runaway rafts during tempestuous weather? Simple yet effective, each chinampa is anchored using sturdy willow trees planted along the edges, making a network of roots to tether them to the lakebed. Nature's own built-in security system. As you admire this verdant wonderland, you can't help but reflect on the Aztecs' harmonious relationship with their environment. They understood the give and take necessary for survival, and their invention of chinampas exemplifies this. You may be tempted to draw parallels to modern-day urban farming trends, but let's remember the Aztecs were pioneering this way of life centuries ago, long before rooftop gardens became a chic, Pinterest-worthy pastime. While you ponder the wisdom embedded in these ancient practices, another thought strikes you: what would life be without the chinampas? It's as if Tenochtitlan would lose a part of its very soul. These floating gardens are not merely agricultural plots, they represent the heartbeat of a people thriving against the odds, creating abundance amid scarcity. Quite impressive for a civilization not equipped with the range of fertilizers and machinery we often rely upon today. Now, as the sun dances across the sky, casting a golden glow over the glistening lake and its verdant appendages, perhaps it's time for a moment of introspection. Consider the grandeur you've witnessed here and the lessons these floating farms continue to offer. Chinampas are a parable of persistence, collaboration, and creativity, qualities that echo into countless facets of human existence. If nothing else, they provide an excellent conversation starter the next time you find yourself discussing ingenious ancient agricultures at a dinner party. As the day draws to a close, and you meander back through the city, leaving behind the tranquility of the chinampas, perhaps you'll leave with more than just images and impressions. Maybe, just maybe, you'll carry with you a seed of inspiration planted by the Aztecs, urging you to cultivate resilience and ingenuity in the soil of your own life. But if you decide to try floating gardens in your backyard, remember, it's a feat best left to experts with a lake to their name and a penchant for sophisticated agriculture. Different strokes, as they say, for different folks. As you wander through the vibrant life of Tenochtitlan, your steps echo the rhythms of a bygone world. Here, beneath the watchful eyes of stone deities, you find yourself enveloped in a mystical metaphysical tapestry interwoven with omens and superstitions. Every choice, every move, laced with celestial portent, a belief system where fate is perpetually just a whispered breath away. Historians still argue whether the Aztec penchant for astrology was born from necessity or fascination, but one thing is certain: in Tenochtitlan, the stars were your life coach and fortune teller rolled into one. Imagine every morning beginning with a glimpse toward the sky or a delve into the ancient codices, hoping for a celestial thumbs up. Does the intricate position of heavenly bodies hint at prosperity or impending doom? Life here is a balancing act between earthly routines and divine decrees. Forget checking a horoscope app in the modern sense, you have elaborate rites and well-versed priests who could probably use some crocodile dung sunscreen for all the time they spend outdoors studying the heavens. The Aztecs believed in omens that could make even the most rational among us gulp and politely scoot away. A comet, known today for its breathtaking beauty, might then have signaled calamity on the horizon. An owl hooting at night? Utter doom approaching, because clearly, insomnia was too mainstream a threat. To the Aztecs, such portents were not to be dismissed lightly. Indeed, entire decisions, from agriculture to warfare, awaited the interpretation of these signs. Imagine the added pressure of not only having to figure out what job to get but whether your application corresponds with an auspicious constellation. Talk about occupational hazard. Now, while most cultures shared some aspects of astrology, the Aztecs elevated it to an art form, one that is beautifully terrifying. These cosmic insights were inscribed in the Tonalamal, an illustrious calendar book that documented days favorable for everything from planting crops to picking a wedding date. Handy, right? Except each page turn could conceivably predict everything from a thriving enterprise to being reincarnated as a woodpecker, depending on your zodiac. But hey, at least you have wings in that future, right? Blending these superstitions with their daily toil, Aztec citizens couldn't simply shrug off an ill-boding omen and play it off as a Monday blues. No, this palpable fear coexisted with unwavering reverence. A cough at the altar or slip during a ceremony could mean divine displeasure, a claim rendered more urgent by the Aztecs' intimate relationship with their gods. The divine was present in every tortilla, under every reed-thatched roof, and on every stitched garment. A quirky belief tied to these superstitions was the notion that twins symbolized trouble, often seen as a single soul split in two. This view wasn't quite the love affair we picture in literature today. Instead, twins were shadowed by ominous auras, their parents treating them with ritual care to ward off any cosmic imbalance. Ironically, double the joy was not a sentiment often exchanged at their birth announcements. Laden with these beliefs, your average day in Tenochtitlan involved navigating both the physical causeways and spiritual mazes. It was an ever-present reminder of just how thickly knit fate, daily rituals, and superstitions were in the Aztec psyche. The complexities don't just stop at grand ceremonies, they seeped into the very syllables of the Nahuatl language as villagers discussed what signs foretold. Did that rogue cloud signal blessing or blight? Among these ethereal beliefs is the dispute over whether Emperor Montezuma II's decisions were heavily swayed by premonitory signs. Did he trust his allies, or did celestial patterns steer his course quite literally off the map? If only Google Maps hadn't avoided empires built on fear of seeing black butterflies setting, perhaps Aztec conquests would have had different narratives. Yet, despite the formidable influence of omens and superstitions, life in Tenochtitlan thrummed relentlessly forward. Its heartbeat, guided by celestial whispers, moved to a divine rhythm, unique and striking. Pause to wonder if, perhaps, these rituals weren't merely stringent customs but an attempt to bring order to life's chaos, a productivity hack that even the most devout modern planner would envy. In truth, the Aztecs may have discovered their own form of mindfulness marinated in cosmic interactions, a hunter-gatherer feel for the ethereal. The world of omens in Tenochtitlan is preternaturally rich and strangely inviting. Here, where possibility and divine choreography hold hands, hope floats above the chaos even as cosmic dust clouds the sky. So what if a cawing raven meant the loss of favor? There was a certain graceful complexity to letting fate weave about with astrological threads, as you weave your own tiny tapestry within a grand cosmic loom. It must be comforting, in a way, to know that even a misplaced constellation could maybe provide more consolation than confusion. After all, who needs waking clarity when you have stars and ancient codices whispering cosmic riddles into the depths of the night? As you stroll through the bustling streets of Tenochtitlan, your senses still awash from the overwhelming entry into this grand city, you begin to feel a subtle yet unshakable tension tightening around your chest. It's the weight of a world obsessed with hierarchy, where the rungs of society dictate your every interaction and aspiration. Here, whether you're a lofty noble or a laboring commoner, your status shapes life's veneer and guides each step you take upon these sun-dappled causeways. The intricate social ladder of Tenochtitlan is not just an invisible backdrop, it's an ever-present force, as palpable as the clamor of the markets you've just left behind. And while in modern times, we measure status by our follower count or paycheck size, the Aztecs embedded it in every aspect of their society with a zeal that makes modern networking look like a casual mingling at a high school reunion. Indeed, the city teems with individuals often defined by the sum of their societal contributions and family lineage. Friends in high places? In Tenochtitlan, it's all about the bloodline. At the top of this demanding hierarchy, you find the Tlatonani, or ruler, a figure as exalted as he is feared. His word is law, and his favor could mean the difference between sovereignty and oblivion. Underneath him, swirling like a whirlpool of political intrigue, are the mighty Pipiltin, the noble class, whose influence weaves through the fabric of the city like vibrant threads in an Aztec tapestry. Yet, their lives aren't just an endless gala. No, they're burdened with the relentless demand to maintain their status. Fail to garner enough tribute from the lands they oversee, and the consequences could ripple throughout their lineage. For the commoners, or Massahualtin, life offers a simpler but no less intense narrative of toils and traditions, a narrative unexpected visitors such as yourself might find challenging. Imagine a life governed by the cycles of agriculture you saw reflected in those beautiful chinampas and punctuated by festivals and fierce devotion. It's a world where hard work doesn't just sustain life, it's a mandate, a promise kept to family and forebears. These commoners live by the noble adage that dignity lies in diligence, providing the city its backbone through labor unwitnessed by those entrenched in luxury. Historians still argue whether the gap between noble and commoner was bridgeable, though tales of brave warriors rising through ranks occasionally shimmer like distant stars over a dense forest. Then, you have the Paktika, those crafty long-distance traders who seem to live life on the road, or perhaps the causeway, more than they do at home. They reside in a curious realm between commoner and noble, earning privilege through trade rather than inheritance. While they can't boast of royal blood, their keen business skills afford them an enviable lifestyle, peppered with both peril and prestige. These savvy merchants ensure the city is a kaleidoscope of goods and cultures, strengthening the imperium one barter at a time. Talk about entrepreneurs before it was cool. And yes, at the very bottom of this pyramidal structure are the Tlatlakatan, the slaves. Life here was not only about human toil. In certain cases, slaves could buy their freedom or earn it through valorous deeds, a fact that introduces a sliver of hope into what would otherwise be a deeply unforgiving existence. But let's not romanticize it too much, for enslavement remained a usefully wielded tool of power dynamics, much like a strict parent wields nap time over an unruly toddler. Your stroll brings you past an ornate courtyard, where a young boy engages in an enigmatic game of patali, tantalizingly similar to an ancient predecessor of Pictionary. Even children, not shielded from their place in society, learn early to maneuver through its expectations. Sons mirror their fathers, while daughters are gently steered toward understanding their unique roles, trained to fulfill the essential tasks society prescribes them. Here, status demands roles as specific and complex as Aztec glyphs carved into stone. The stress of status, palpable as the warm sun above, promises no respite even in leisure. Festivals, while jubilant and lively, serve as stages for both opulence and caution, places where a slip in decorum could lead to whispered consequences heard at the city's many cornerstones. Here, appearances matter, drama is carefully curtailed, and each social interaction is a tightrope walk between honor and disgrace. Forget etiquette lessons at the dinner table, here, survival is an art form. One quirky tradition of the time was the ceremonial cloak donning during important meetings among the elite. These capes were more than garb, they declared rank loud and clear, almost like wearing a billboard in Times Square that reads, "I have arrived, be impressed." Too long a hem, and you might be challenging the lord of the manor. Too short, and well, you'd best enjoy obscurity. Sumptuary laws dictated attire with the precision you might expect from obsessive fashion police wielding obsidian mirrors. Yet in the harsh light of day, you find a camaraderie among all classes, a shared acknowledgement of fate and fortune, a dance as intricate as the one those colorful Macas perform above the bustling plazas. Whether noble or common, the people of Tenochtitlan ride chariots pulled by the astral wheel of Aztec astrology, forever twisting to the rhythms of time and tenacity. So, as your day wends its way into the evening, you absorb these interwoven tapestries of status and stress, a reminder that in every era, society crafts its game, and we're perpetually both players and pawns. Here in Tenochtitlan, you feel the pressure of history breathing its hot breath on the back of your neck, urging you to move alongside it. Maybe even keeping a careful eye on the odd nice cloak, should you need to dodge a communal obligation. After all, efficient cloak draping could be deemed both an art and necessity when dodging deeper into this layered world. Conflicts and questions linger, leaving tantalizing room for historians to puzzle over and reinterpret. Did the complexity of the Aztec social hierarchy serve to stabilize or destabilize their society? A question as enticing as its answers are elusive, beckoning ever-curious minds to explore the rich tapestry of a world long past. Now, don't let the stress of this status story sustain long in your mind. Let it settle like the gentle calm that follows a storm to guide you into the soft embrace of an upcoming tranquil night under that sprawling Central American sky. And rest assured, the ever-busy Aztecs themselves would eventually lay aside their burdens, even if for a moment, to contemplate the stars above, a hierarchy of light indiscriminate in its eternal grace. As the vibrant day in Tenochtitlan descends into dusk, you find yourself winding down from the cacophony of city life. The heat of the sun's rays gradually releases its grip, replaced by the comforting embrace of cool evening air. Colors of burnt orange and deep violet streak across the sky, painting an unforgettable portrait of a world far removed from the bright city lights we're accustomed to today. You settle yourself near the edge of a causeway, the same intricate pathways you navigated earlier, and indulge in a moment of peaceful reflection. The bustling city, just hours ago alive with a hustle and bustle that rivals any modern metropolis, now undergoes a transformation at the hands of the impending nightfall. The once vibrant markets where vendors eagerly bartered and traded slowly close, their keepers packing away precious cacao, obsidian, and intricately woven garments. The echo of nahuatl, a medley of fast-paced tones and vibrant syllables, gradually dims as conversations give way to the quiet murmur of neighbors bidding each other goodnight. Above the towering Templo Mayor, the sky darkens further, with a cascade of stars audaciously appearing in grand procession, each one competing for your attention. Their shimmering glow mirrored in the city's canals and the distant Lake Texcoco, it's like an ancient precursor to our modern-day screensaver. One wonders if the elegance of the universe was as admired by the Aztecs as it is today. Historians still argue whether the Aztecs saw themselves as central participants in the cosmic cycle or simply along for the celestial ride. As you take in the scene, you're enveloped by the quietening rhythm of Tenochtitlan, a serene calm replacing the vibrant energy of the day. The daily rituals have been completed, and now the night belongs to the stars and the gentle lapping of water against the causeways. You sense faint wafts of smoke drifting from nearby households, telltale signs of families preparing their evening meals from the remnants of the day's market plunder. Imagine bites of unfamiliar delicacies you encountered earlier, such as the prized crickets. Yet, elsewhere in the city, the small pulses of remaining life remind you of the sprawling metropolis's scope. From a distance, the sounds of late worship at a nearby temple reach your ears, the relentless devotion for gods undeterred by the hour. Those devout enough still offer prayers to guide the sun's daily rebirth. Perhaps such devotion keeps the city's chaotic soul energized during the day. Amidst your musings, a bat gracefully swoops close, maybe curious or simply distracted by your foreign scent. Of course, this momentary solitude is as temporary as the fading daylight. Soon you'll be whisked away again into the chaos of an ancient civilization's unique rhythm. To be fair, the Aztecs probably didn't have designated evening yoga sessions to de-stress after a day filled with impending omens and societal pressures. Still, they found solace under the same night sky. As the last whisper of twilight yields entirely to the night, you notice the hues of deep blues and purples taking over, inviting the moon to add its silvery touch to this grand canvas. All while the city's sleeping giants, its noble pyramids and temples, stand guardian-like, becoming silent silhouettes against the horizon. Throughout the city, families gather inside their homes for the night's repose. Within these walls, the vibration of truly ancient routines plays out, where history lives and breathes through each cedar beam laden with memories of generations past. A community where the idea of a futuristic smartphone was as likely as a portal to another dimension, both equally fantastical. Finally, as you cherish this closure to your day in Tenochtitlan, you embrace the gentle reminder that in this ancient city, the barrier between the day and night is a timeless whisper, beckoning all who listen to stay, linger, and reflect. In a world where the day's bustle was etched in rituals and routines, the calm of night offers a counterpoise, a chance for the city to breathe, to dream. The day's adventures nestle gently into the backdrop, cloaked by the comforting veil of sleep, where dreams of deity-guided paths await, a slumber overseen by the ancients. With the shimmering constellations above, there's a serene reassurance that the sun will rise again, and daybreak will usher a new day teeming with sights, sounds, and timeless stories yet to unfold. And as your eyes begin to flutter shut, you find warmth in the familiarity of night's embrace, a chapter of rest amidst Tenochtitlan's grand, unending saga. Allow yourself to surrender to this tranquil moment, where time feels suspended, and only peace remains. Drift softly into the gentle lullaby of ancient echoes and dreams woven into the night, knowing that tomorrow holds yet another journey. Sleep now, under the auspicious canopy of stars, with the ancient cities embrace your comforting cradle. Whispering goodnight just as the Aztecs might have, calming, soothing, settling into the harmony of history's gentle breath.